Order of the Long Beach Community College District Board of Trustees for April 23rd, 2003. We met in executive session and have nothing to report. At this time, if I can have our Madam Secretary, Jackie Hahn, please lead us in the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jackie. For a point of information, you'll notice that Dr. Clark is not here today. He is out traveling, so he will not be at this meeting this afternoon. Want to take a roll call?
We have, oh, sorry, go ahead.
President Uranga.
Present.
Vice President Kellogg.
Here.
Member Bowen.
Here.
Member Otto.
Here.
And Student Trustee Troya.
Present.
Welcome and introductions.
Yes, thank you, Board President Uranga. I was so excited to introduce Pat McKean that I almost jumped the gun. So, as always, we celebrate the work of our students, and we have a tremendous journalism program, and to report on some of those activities and some successes that our students have had, we'd ask Pat McKean, our journalism guru, to come on up and let us know what's happening.
Thank you very much, President Oakley, trustees, students, faculty, staff, administrators in the community. I'm pleased to have with me tonight a group of dedicated news writing students from Journalism 20 who have all changed their schedules to attend this meeting tonight. They are learning how to cover government and learn about the First Amendment and provide valuable information to the public about your important role in society. Also, I'm pleased to again announce our list of winners from the Journalism Association of Community Colleges State Convention at the recent competition. I traveled with 8 other highly dedicated Viking newspaper and city magazine students to Sacramento from April 11th through the 14th, competing against students from about 60 other colleges in mail-in competition and about 500 students during on-the-spot contests. Our students added to their lofty total of awards the journalism program started earning when LBCC opened in 1927. Matthew Heidbrider gained second place for a city magazine illustration. Jose Palacios also earned second place for the cover design of the magazine. Sanjim Milosevic captured yet another second place for a magazine photo. And Edward Mahurin earned third place for an inside page design. We have a round of applause for all our winners. After our near record-setting number of awards in the Southern Section competition last fall, the awards categories were reduced by the State Association this year, so our number is a little lower this time. But our students and faculty provide strong coverage of important events at LBCC and will continue to do so. Please, everybody, look forward to a historic issue of the Viking on May 2nd, a week from Thursday, when we produce our first 3D issue. We saved some money by traveling by van instead of airplane to Sacramento this last month to accommodate the budget, so your 3D glasses and your Viking newspaper will be on the racks early morning Thursday, May 2nd, with some technical advice from Rich Cameron at Cerritos College, Edward Aguilar with Beach Publishing, Chris Viola, our LTE photo lab technician, and our great students. Something to look forward to a week from Thursday. Thank you for your support. We appreciate it.
Thank you. It seems like every year our Viking newspaper gets better and better. Okay. Next, can I have approval of the minutes of March 26th?
So moved. Second.
Okay, I have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Any amendments to the minutes? Okay, hearing none, they will be accepted as adopted. Ordering the agenda, do I have any members of the board want to reorder the agenda at this time? Okay, hearing none, we shall continue with, and the agenda stays as proposed. Report of Board of Trustees, committee reports. Any committee reports? Hearing none, we shall continue. Student trustee, Jason.
Hello. Words cannot adequately express how much worse things are at Long Beach City College than my wildest expectations when I was elected. I'd like to start by commenting on the elephant in the room, a matter that the majority of the LBCC community is aware of, but that hasn't been openly discussed. Last week, the FAA suspended our aviation maintenance program's accreditation because yet again we've been caught allegedly falsifying FAA certificates that didn't satisfy the 1,900 credit hours required to issue the certificates. This is an issue that was brought to a previous Vice President of Academic Affairs nearly a decade ago, yet here we find ourselves again. The importance of that regulation goes without saying. Would you want someone working on your jet engine who hasn't satisfied their certificate requirements? In my opinion, this amounts to reckless endangerment of human life on the part of anyone involved in this. On the subject of aviation maintenance, I've finished investigating each of the discontinued programs and have found that the college presented misleading, if not categorically false, data to the board and the public in each of the programs being discontinued. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the aviation maintenance program. In the official documents, the board claimed that there are only 130 students enrolled in the program, while the actual number is 363, which has been verified through the counseling department and through the aviation maintenance program as well. This is a trend that is reflected in every single other discontinued program as well. The administration would have you believe that an average of only 6.5 Associates of Science degrees and 9 certificates are conferred by the college each academic year by aviation maintenance. The actual number is 15 Associates of Science degrees and 120 FAA certificates. Again, this is a trend that pervades the data presented to the board and the public throughout this process. When asked about the board's continued assertion in trustee meetings that a total of only 83 degrees and certificates have been granted combined in all of the programs slated for discontinuance, President Oakley responded, "We've only counted certain certificates and degrees, ones that the state recognizes, since those are the only ones we get credit for as a metric of student success. Why do we offer those other certificates if we aren't going to count them and if we're going to penalize our students for actually seeking them out? And why haven't we sought state recognition for those certificates? All of the job statistics offered in the board reports are inaccurate as well and are disputed by the EDD as well as the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. We told board members and the public that jobs in the aviation maintenance sector will be declining by 19% in Long Beach and by 1.7% in Los Angeles County. The average job growth over the next 7 years ranges from 6% to 11% in Long Beach, according to the EDD and the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, respectively. Yet again, this is a recurring theme throughout each of the impacted programs. The board documents claim that the average cost per program completer is $38,700 a year, while according to the Academic Council recommendations, the total budget per year is $780,000. If one divides that number by the actual number of students in the program, the cost comes out to be $1,950.41 per student. This doesn't factor that during the worst year in the last 4 academic years, in apportionment alone, aviation maintenance generated over $1.8 million. That places it as the most profitable program at the college at a 250% profit margin, followed by international students as its second most profitable, and automotive technologies as the third. Yet, 2 of those departments were recommended by the Academic Council for discontinuance out of the 4 that were recommended for discontinuance by the Academic Council. The aviation maintenance program, in its worst year during the last 4 years, has netted over $1 million in profit. Given that this is common knowledge and was presented to the Academic Council and administration during the program discontinuance process, it seems highly suspect that those programs were recommended for discontinuance despite incontrovertible data showing them to be very healthy and in actuality models for what successful trades programs look like. Our aviation maintenance program is not only recognized as being in the top 5% nationwide, but has the highest success rate of any program at this college at 93.11%. Well, not surprisingly, the board documents undercut this metric as well, claiming that it is 85.2%. The success rate of our college as a whole, by the way, is 28% lower than in aviation maintenance at 65.72%. Could the data call this decision more into question than I've just presented? It does. If one compares the grade distribution between aviation maintenance and the college as a whole, 56% of aviation maintenance students get A's in their courses, while the college-wide average is 25%. 31% of aviation maintenance students get B's in their classes, while the college-wide average is 21%. 6% of aviation students get C's in their classes, while the college-wide average is 17%. 0 students in aviation maintenance got D's in the last academic year in their classes, while the college-wide average is 6.23%. 1.1% of aviation maintenance students fail their classes, while the college-wide average is nearly 12%. 6.1% of aviation maintenance students earn a W in their classes, while the college-wide average is nearly 19%. Where were the objective facts in this process? Our board and administration have lost all credibility, and our faculty leadership has failed the students of this college. The more I read, the more disgusted I become with the questionable and in many cases plainly illegal conduct of some faculty leaders, some administrators, and most of our board. I will see to it that whoever has broken the law will be prosecuted and held accountable for their actions. LBCC is in crisis and is circling the drain. I fear whether we will be able to maintain our accreditation, and given everything that I know, it would be miraculous if ACCJC overlooks all of these inaccuracies. I'd like to speak directly to the faculty and staff. The days spent standing on the sidelines must end. Can you passively sit back and not take action while the very survival of this beloved institution is at stake and your jobs hang in the balance, not to mention the well-being of this community? I see a group of leaders who have been defeated by an authoritarian regime that lacks relevance. Student leaders shouldn't have to do this work on our own. We've done our part by taking a vote of no confidence yesterday against our board and censuring our administration for the discrepancies of the program discontinuance process, which I'm not prepared to speak about today, since there's far more pressing business to attend to. I went back and read Board of Trustees minutes from a decade ago and was amazed at how many strong faculty and staff voices were noted on the minutes. Since that time, our board has bloated our administration so that they don't have to do any actual work, in my opinion, as evidenced by having 9 vice presidents who conduct the business that the board used to do in a public forum. In collaboration with the Academic Senate Executive Board behind closed doors, in direct violation of the Academic Senate's bylaws and the Ralph M. Brown Act. This is simply a way of usurping the authority of our Academic Senate and silencing the voices of students, faculty, and staff, and also members of the community. We have evidence that the President's Leadership Council has been amending policies without even seeking board approval, including, surprise, Administrative Regulation 4024 on program discontinuance. Stand with the students, unite, and help us to preserve this institution. You've been warned, and if you fail to act, you might find the doors closed at some point in the future. That is how serious the problems we face are. By the way, I would be remiss if I didn't comment on a line from the Long Beach Report article written on behalf of Roberto over the weekend. The board's claim that they are good stewards of the Measure E money is laughable at best. How many voters in this community realize that out of the $440 million approved by voters in 2008, $200 million was allocated to administrative management fees? Since 2008, our board has spent more than $37 million in administrative fees, constituting a 20% administrative cut of every penny that is spent. This data can be found in the Citizens Oversight Committee budget documents. What on earth did our administration spend $37 million on in the last 5 years? This seems to me like a grave breach of the public trust and an enormous misuse of public funds. Is that being a good steward of the trust the voters placed in us, President Uranga? Is that wise spending of our taxpayer-funded resources? This is preposterous. It is important to remember that I am a student first, and being a student trustee is a lower priority than moving on in 5 weeks' time as I'm transferring out. I've given more than a pound of flesh to this position, and it's time for other student leaders to step up and fill my shoes. And now for the most pressing business of the evening.
Thank you, Jason.
That
it?
I have a little bit more.
Okay. Thank you, moving on.
Dear Mr. Uranga, this letter is to call your attention to what I believe was a substantial violation of a central provision of the Ralph M. Brown Act, one which may jeopardize the finality of the action taken by the Long Beach City College Board of Trustees. The nature of the violation is as follows. In its meeting of January 23, 2013, the Board of Trustees took action to discontinue 11 programs by voting to support the matter as a direct result of an illegally held closed session. The action taken was not in compliance with the Brown Act because it occurred as the culmination of a discussion in closed session of a matter which the Act does not permit to be discussed in closed session. Also, there wasn't appropriate agendized comments during the meeting in question, and there was a serial vote taken. In the event it appears to you that the conduct of the Long Beach City College Board of Trustees specified herein did not amount to the taking of action, I call your attention to Section 54952.6, which defines actions taken for the purposes of the Act expansively, i.e., as a collective decision made by a majority of the members of a legislative body, a collective commitment or promise by a majority of the members of a legislative body to make a positive or negative decision or an actual vote by a majority of the members of a legislative body when sitting as a body or entity upon a motion, proposal, resolution, order, or ordinance. As you are aware, the Brown Act creates specific agenda obligations for notifying the public with a brief description of each item to be discussed or acted upon, and also creates a legal remedy for illegally taken actions, namely the judicial invalidation of them upon proper findings of fact and conclusions of law. Pursuant to that provision, Government Code Section 54960.1, I demand that the Long Beach City College Board of Trustees cure and correct the illegally taken action as follows: by immediately rescinding all resolutions in question, issuing a formal and explicit withdrawal from any commitments made by the action taken, and starting the program discontinuance process again, providing for adequate public involvement and open access to decision-making in the subsequent processes. Furthermore, I demand that the board suspend all planned actions related to program discontinuance until such time as the board complies substantially with the Ralph M. Brown Act in each and every step of the process. In addition, in the spirit of the Brown Act, it is imperative that the board provides the public with any and all documents related to and used throughout the process, thereby allowing their constituents to see the very same records that contribute to the final decision. I also demand a formal statement from the board disclosing why the individual members of the legislative body took the positions by vote or otherwise that they did, accompanied by the full opportunity for informed comment by members of the public at the same meeting, notice of which is properly included on the posted agenda. As provided by Section 54960.1, you have 30 days from the receipt of this demand to either cure and correct the challenge action or inform me of your decisions not to do so. If you fail to cure or correct as demanded, such an action may leave me no recourse but to seek a judicial invalidation of the challenge action pursuant to Section 54960.1, in which case I would also ask the court to order you to pay my court costs and reasonable attorney's fees in this matter, pursuant to Section 54960.5. Respectfully yours, Jason Troya. And one more thing.
There's more?
Before I come to the final matter, I'd like to point out a quote from the Viking made on behalf of the board through Jeff Kellogg. I don't want to give anyone false hope. We are not going to reconsider anything. I'll presume that everyone concurs. Would you please approach? This is a notice of intent to circulate recall petition to the LBCC Board of Trustees Doug Otto, Thomas Clark, Jeff Kellogg, and Roberto Uranga. Thank you.
Well, Jason, again, you have stated quite a mouthful, but I want to say that on behalf of my colleagues on the Board of Trustees, I want to express our disappointment with the action taken by the ASB yesterday. The ASB Board has an elected representative, the student trustee, who is you, who participates in our meetings and has been involved in all the meetings this year when program discontinuance was discussed. Student representatives also participated in the Student Leadership Council, which developed the policy, which was used in the program discontinuance process. While it is easy to understand why students dislike the decision of the board, ample opportunity was provided for students and other college stakeholders to inform the process. While disappointed in this action, the board and administration remain committed to working with our elected student leaders and providing opportunities for students to participate in college governance. While discontinuing programs was a difficult decision and not popular, the board continues to believe that that its decision was in the best interest of the Long Beach City College District and its students in the long run. And I will pass it to my colleagues if they have any statements they wish to make.
I've sat here for the entire time, and I very rarely, my attitude is, as student trustee, has been given the opportunity to express themselves however they want to. That is his decision on what comments he wants to make. But there was a question I have only because there was, when it began, it was more of, I remember there was allegations towards students doing illegal, inappropriate acts with bond money, former students. And then it has slowly evolved into recalls, vote of no confidence, and now it's attacking our faculty members, classified staff, administrators, and anyone that sets foot on this campus. That's perfectly within your right to make those statements. What I'd like to ask the question, because I've heard this from other people, and so without getting into a long, but it's something I've really tried to find the answer to. One of which, when I've heard this in the past, and I'll make the third point about my comments and the reason I feel strongly about it, but I've heard this, that our aviation maintenance is in the top 5% nationwide. And I kept asking the question, according to what organization? So you brought that up. Where can I find that our aviation maintenance is part of what organization? So I really have not been able to find the answer to that. What organization has rated our aviation management in the top 5 percentile?
You will find it in the program review documents that were passed and reviewed by this board itself.
What is it? What's the name of the organization? You made the comment, so I'm assuming you knew which one it was. Is there a name to it? Is it the National Association of something? The FAA rates Long Beach City College aviation aviation at the top 5% based on, you know what, is it the FAA?
You can even find it in the academic council's closed session
And I
recommendations
want to find
on
out
aviation
what's
maintenance.
the parameters? I mean, that's what throws me. I mean, top 5% based on what? And then the other question that you brought up that I've never heard this one before, which I find interesting, we had $1 million profit. How does education make a profit of $1 million? What were the parameters of us making profit in an academic course?
Check the facts and figures. Ask the aviation maintenance program to provide you with,
But you
again, yet
you
again,
didn't. So you didn't find out.
budget.
You didn't really find out. So you don't have an answer for me right now. I know you read things, but I'm asking it. That's a lot of research, and it's a phenomenal number for an academic course to make $1 million profit. I don't know how we do that. We're not a business. So you made the statement.
You're not?
We're not.
I don't know. It seems more
Anyway,
like a business to me than a college.
I was just curious. And then finally, you made the statement, and I think we have to I didn't even know I was in the Viking newspaper, so that's good to know as well on a quote. But the point is that hope is a good thing, but false expectations are not. And we had to make a decision based on a long process, working with all the aspects of the college to make some tough decisions. We've done so. We think that was the best of a bad situation, and we move forward from there. To constantly go back and give people any thought that we're going to keep going back to it, and as President Oranga made a comment when we did this vote, is that looking at other options, which we tried to look at, across the board 4% cuts to all our full-time faculty, which I personally didn't think was a good option. We made the decision, and so that statement, which is obviously my statement, was so we can move forward. The idea of keep going back and thinking that we're going to go back and bring these programs back and then have to go through the whole process again would, in my mind, be undercutting a lot of people at this college's hard effort, work, dedication to trying to make the best of the situation. So I made those statements because I moved forward after that, and I made that decision based on data, information, and what I thought was best for the college. So I firmly believe when I made that statement, and it was commented in the Viking, is we're going to move forward. And to let people keep thinking we're going to go back and maybe we have one more chance, I think is doing everyone at the college a disservice. And that's why I make those statements, and I firmly believe in it. But I just thought I'd give you the benefit of the doubt. You make these statements as you read it, and it was information I've heard, and I wanted clarification. And unfortunately, I didn't get it, but I'm probably not surprised I didn't get it as well. So thank you.
May I say one more thing? It is not over until every legal remedy is exhausted. Thank you.
Trustee Otto.
Jason, I just want to clarify one thing. You say that you believe that there was an illegal vote taken in closed session. By who was that vote taken by? Was it the academic council?
By the Board of Trustees, a serial poll.
In closed session?
Yes,
How do you know that?
Where would you get that information?
from comments that were made at a conference in front of about 300 people that I have on video, which I will provide for you if you want to see them. To me, it constitutes.
Do you think that the academic council took a vote that they weren't allowed to make? They weren't allowed to take?
It wasn't a comment from the academic council.
Okay, I'm just asking you that. Do you think the Brown Act applies to the academic council?
It clearly does.
Okay.
Yes. And the President's Leadership Council, which came up with Administrative Regulation 4024.
And the Brown Act applies to that as well?
Yes.
You know, I feel like this has been such a failed process. Boards of trustees, other collegial bodies are expected to work together to arrive at conclusions in the best interests of the communities that they serve. And the way that that's done is for the members of those boards to work together closely to try and answer the tough policy questions that come up. I'm very disappointed, Jason, that never once tried to talk to me since I had you come down to my office at the very beginning of your term. My door, as I said then, and always has been open to you as the student trustee, as a member of this board, to help us resolve these issues that come before us, whether it's program discontinuance or anything else. And instead, you've decided not to work with us and to go it on your own. And if that's your decision, that's fine. But I personally feel that I've failed in what it is that should have occurred here, not the result, but the process, because in the end, this is an educational institution. And as a student trustee especially, hopefully this serves as an educational process for you as well. But it hasn't worked out that way, and we'll just go on.
And I concur with your statements about the failure.
Okay, moving on with the agenda. We have public comments on agenda items. I have not received any speaker cards, so we will move on with the agenda for the consent agenda. These are taken on all in one vote. Do I have a vote? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Item number 5.3, resolution reduction of classified staff. This is service. This is an action item. Can I hear a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. Discussion. Okay, hearing no discussion on this item, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Item 8.1, approval of athletic coaching certificate of accomplishment. This is an action item. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Okay. Motion to approve, a second. Doug? Mark?
Second.
Okay, I would second. Any discussion on this item? No. Okay, no discussion, take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Item 8.2, revised curriculum guides for computer and office studies. This is also an action item. Can I hear a motion, please?
Approval.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. A second.
Second.
A motion and a second. Take a vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, item 9.1, actually item 10, we will take the superintendent president's report, legislative update.
Yes, thank you, Board President Uranga. I have a few reports under this agenda item, so let's begin with the legislative update. And with that, I'd like to ask Mr. Mark Taylor to come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent President. Board President Uranga, members of the board. My pleasure to offer a brief update on some pending legislation. The first bill this evening is AB 955, which is a piece of legislation that was sponsored by the Long Beach Community College District. AB 955, authored by Assemblymember Doss Williams, would allow community colleges to offer extension courses during intersession. The bill will require community colleges or community college districts maintaining extension programs to make every effort to encourage broad participation in the program and support access for students eligible for Board of Governors fee waivers. As I said, Long Beach City College is the sponsor of this piece of legislation, and last week it passed 2 weeks ago, it passed the Assembly Higher Education Committee with a vote of 10 to 2. It's on its way to the Appropriations Committee. In addition to the legislative report, I provided for your information a copy of the fact sheet that's been prepared by the author, as well as the Public Policy Institute California report, which is quoted heavily in that report, which laid out some of the reasons for the bill, which including since 2008, 86,000 course offerings, or 21% of the total system offering, have been reduced, and nearly 600,000 students have been turned away from the community colleges since 2008. And while this bill will in no way restore that level of access, and while it's hopeful that the budget seems to be turning around, some access will be restored in the coming year, this bill offers one way to add additional access at some critical points during summer and winter intersession, where access, of course, has been particularly deeply cut as a result of budget reductions. Moving on, there's six other bills I'd like to mention briefly to you. The first is AB 51. Author is Dan Logue. AB 51 would create a pilot program to create a $10,000 degree in STEM fields. The Long Beach Community College District is watching this bill closely because we are mentioned in it. However, we were not a sponsor nor a supporter of this piece of legislation. The author was familiar with the Long Beach College Promise Program and thought this community was a place that might benefit from a piece of legislation like this. However, Cal State University Long Beach, our partner, and the CSU Chancellor's Office have expressed strong concerns about this bill. This bill will not be heard in this particular legislative session. It's become what's called a 2-year bill. I mean, the author will go back and work with interested parties and see if they can reach some sort of consensus to bring the bill back in next year. AB 283 from Richard Bloom would provide guaranteed property tax backfill for community colleges. This K-12 districts already are guaranteed by the Constitution. They have property taxes backfilled in the event that they do not perform as anticipated in the state budget. This bill would provide the same sort of guarantee for community colleges. We've been supportive of this effort because it would eliminate a great deal of budget uncertainty that happens every year in community college budgeting. Deficit factors often come up late and impose significant shortages in revenue. So this would be a good piece of legislation for community colleges. It passed the Assembly Higher Education Committee unanimously 2 weeks ago and is also pending an appropriation. AB 806 by Scott Wilk would amend the 50% law to include counselors, librarians, and non-instructional faculty salaries within the instructional percentage of 50% law. We've expressed support for this because it would allow Long Beach Community College District to provide more support for its students. AB 837 would create an administrative lead center and place all of the small business development lead centers within the state of California within the Governor's Office of Business Development, or GoBiz. This Long Beach Community College District is supporting this bill. It was drafted by the California SBDC lead centers, one of which is housed here at Long Beach Community College District. This bill is set to be heard later this week, actually today, in the Assembly Jobs Committee. The two final bills, SB 520 by Darrell Steinberg, would create the California Online Student Access Platform. The idea behind 520 is that the top 50 most impacted lower division courses would be provided to students in UC, CSU, and the California Community College District via a new virtual campus. And we're watching this bill closely because it's received a great deal of interest and opposition. The UC Academic Senate has come out strongly against this bill, but it's something. Online education, MOOCs, this is one of the big topics of conversation in policy this year, and this is a critical piece of legislation in that discussion because of its author. President Pro Tem is obviously a formidable actor in Sacramento, so we're watching this closely. The final bill is also authored by President Pro Tem Darrell Steinberg, SB 594. This is the Dropout Reduction and Workforce Development Bond Act of 2013. This would authorize the California Career Pathway State Investment Committee, a new body, and business entities to enter into workforce development bonds to create and fund career pathway programs. It would also authorize tax credits for businesses who participated in such programs. We've been supportive of this bill because we think it will provide several new sources of revenue support for the development of CTE pathways. Again, it's a complex piece of legislation. It is very broad, and we'll be watching it closely. And it will be heard in the Senate Education Committee tomorrow. So that is a brief update on several pieces of pending legislation I thought would be of interest to the board. I stand ready to answer any questions if you have them.
No questions from the board at this time?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Very thorough. And I'll keep an eye out on these bills as they move forward, obviously. All right, next on the agenda, we have, let's place my agenda here. Okay, continuing with the President's Superintendent's Report, the ARC 2.0 Student Success Scorecard for Long Beach.
Yes, thank you, Board President Uranga. Annually, we come to the board to report on the Accountability Reporting for Community College Act, which created the ARC report. This year, it's been amended after the passage of SB 1456, Student Success Act, authored by our own then Senator Alan Lowenthal. The Student Success Scorecard was part of that legislation. The purpose of the scorecard was to provide transparent information about how our students are doing to the public in a way that could be understood by the public. So as currently exists on our website and the website of all of our 112 colleges now is a button that will link to each college's student success metrics. If members of the board or the faculty, staff, administration, students, or the public have not already visited that website, I would encourage everyone to ensure that you keep track of how our students are doing, how our college is doing, and the point of this is to hold our colleges accountable to ensure that we improve student success and to ensure that the gaps that exist in achievement are brought to the attention of the board so that we can ensure that we make progress to closing those achievement gaps. So with that, I would like to ask Dr. Eva Bagg to give this report, and want to take one last moment to thank the Board of Trustees that supported SB 1456. It was a long time coming, and this college worked very hard to ensure that the Student Success Scorecard was part of that legislation. So with that, Eva, come on up.
Thank you, President Oakley, Board President Uranga, trustees, and members of the executive leadership team. So yes, this is the 6th annual ARC results that you have seen on an annual basis. And you may recall it was in December that I tried to provide you an overview of some of the modifications to the past 5-year reports that you have seen. So just briefly, as President Oakley has mentioned, in response to the Student Success Task Force, the long, over 300-page PDF report that had come out in previous years has been transformed into a scorecard that's readily available to all of us. Things that are more readily available also is that the scorecard provides disaggregation by racial ethnic groups, also other student demographic groups. It's included additional outcomes, what are referred to as momentum points. It's also recreated the cohort in an attempt to capture more fair capturing of the community college students in the state of California. Also, you may recall there had been somewhat of an emphasis on peer group comparisons. Those are still available as part of the background documentation, but the emphasis of the scorecard really is for colleges to be focusing on its own performance over time. Again, as a reminder then, the scorecard contains 5 main components, and actually I'm going to link to our website just so that everybody can see how easy it is to get to this information. So the first piece up front is the college profile, contains student demographics, also some additional operating metrics for each of the colleges. Main focus of the scorecard is the student progress and attainment rate. This includes some of those momentum points, that is persistence, and I'll remind you of the definitions of each of these. The completion of 30 units, and then meaningful completion of some primary educational outcomes. New to the scorecard is the remedial education progress rate, and the scorecard is focusing on our foundational skills in math, English, and ESL. And I just want to comment that if the board has questions specifically about the work being done for each of these areas, we've invited the deans of those areas, Paul Creason, the Dean of Math, Science, and Engineering, and Jose Ramon Nunez, the Dean of Language Arts, working with their faculty who will have more information if the board has questions about the work that's happening already in response to previous ARC data, but also the current scorecard. The fourth component, the career tech education rate, again, a new measure, and I'll go over that methodology again, and also the career development and college preparation, or the CDCP rate. So this is what we're going to review this evening. So as President Oakley had mentioned, the scorecard now exists at the Chancellor's office site, but also it's been inserted at the homepage. And we had tested this before the meeting, and it had come up. Doesn't appear to be doing that. Maybe I need to just be patient.
I had that problem.
Well, I'm not sure why it's going up, but regardless, what I've done is basically recreated the latest results for you, but yeah, technically, I'm not sure why that's happening. A minute ago it was. Anyway, not to delay the presentation, I'll move on with each of the measures. Oh, just to, you know what, right, I can just do this to come up to the home. So much for hyperlinks. Okay, so here's the college website, which you all recognize. Here's the student scorecard. So here it takes you right to the scorecard that we've been talking about that was released on April 9th. So here you can see where each of the colleges in the system are listed. We can also look at the statewide average. So part of the presentation tonight, I'll be comparing Long Beach City College to the entire system. So here's what I had mentioned, the college profile, the demographics, ethnicity and race, gender and age, and the other operating metrics. Full-time equivalent student, the number of credit sections versus non-credit sections, the median credit section size gives a sense of how large the classes are, and the percentage of full-time faculty. So this is statewide, and then any of the other colleges are just as easily available from the website. So what I'm going to do now is basically just go into the Long Beach City College data. But this is really quite easy for anybody to access. Okay, so moving on to the first outcome measure, the student progress and achievement rate. Basically want to just first remind you of how it is that the Chancellor's office has defined this cohort of students that are being tracked over a period of years. So included in all of these measures of the student progress and attainment rate, we're looking at first-time students in higher education, and then capturing those students who within their first 3 years have completed 6 credit units and have attempted any math or English course. One of the things with the new scorecard is that students without a valid Social Security number are not being included, and the reason for that is that with students without a Social Security number, we are unable to track their transfer. We get this information through the National Student Clearinghouse, so it was decided to exclude those students because we would be under-reporting the number of transfer students that we know actually transfer who do not have a Social Security number. So that's how they tried to balance and make that a more fair measure. What I'm going to be reporting to you tonight is the most recent cohort that we have. So all of these measures are tracking students over a 6-year period. We have the data from 2011-12 year, so that means that the cohort actually started at Long Beach City College in the 2006-07 academic year. So taking these the methodology that's captured here, out of about 5,500 first-time students, those who got captured in this cohort, there was about 2,300 students, just to give you a sense of the volume here. One of the things that's included in the scorecard and which is new is that for each of these measures, the Chancellor's office has tried to provide us with comparisons. Basically, it's comparisons among students who have basically been classified as college prepared, and what that means by definition from the Chancellor's office is that they have not attempted any remedial English or math course. Unprepared students, on the other hand, our students who we can document in the system have actually attempted a remedial English or math course. So you'll see those comparisons made in the data as we move through it. And then also just the overall completions that are captured for the cohort. So taking the first momentum point, looking at persistence, and the way that persistence is defined for this measure is tracking these students, and once again, this is the 2006-07 entering students who persisted for 3 consecutive primary terms, primary meaning only the fall and spring terms, and staying at any California community college. That's one of the things to keep in mind for all of these measures. Most of them are staying at Long Beach City College, but they're also capturing those who started here but may have persisted at another community college. So for this cohort, 2,302 students, you can see that 73.7% of the students persisted in the manner defined here compared to the statewide overall persistence rate of 65.8%. That category of prepared students who did not attempt any remedial or math course, there were 238 of them for this particular cohort. They persisted at the 53.4%. The unprepared students, much larger group, persisted at 76.1%. I know this might seem a little bit odd. I think intuitively we think that students who are prepared for college level work would be performing better, but I think what we have to keep in mind is that a number of these prepared students have actually not persisted in the California community college system, but have gone on to transfer outside the system. So it's not as though they aren't successful students, they're just not persisting in the state over that 6-year period of being tracked. The other thing that is now very transparent in the scorecard, which we used to have to break out and provide to you just in these settings, was the breakout by ethnicity. So that's available to everybody now, but we've just tried to provide these tonight just to show you that for persistence, you can see that in terms of looking for potential achievement gaps, they're not very marked here, at least for the persistent measure. The American Indian, Alaskan Native American group appears to be lower, but that group is such a small number that it's difficult to draw conclusions about that. Anyway, the point is that these are all available for all of the measures now on the scorecard. The next momentum point, this is tracking the same cohort of students over 6 years and having completed 30 units during that time period, again, at any California community college campus. So once again, we've provided a comparison, Long Beach City College, for just this particular cohort to the state. So we do exceed at the overall rate of the statewide average. Once again, the same kind of explanation as to why they're prepared is a bit lower. I think it's because they may have completed 30 units, or they may have completed less than 30 units and then continued their educational career at a 4-year institution. Looking again at a view of this, once again considering this college's emphasis, one of its master plan goals on equity in student outcomes. This shows us that we still have work to do, although we are making progress in closing those gaps, but for Hispanic, African American students, Pacific Islander in particular, we still have opportunities to work on closing those gaps. The next outcome that's being tracked for this SPAR cohort of students, this is where we're really getting beyond the momentum points and looking at the completion of meaningful completion outcomes. So for the scorecard, any one of these completions count when we're calculating the rate for this particular outcome. So a student can achieve an AA or AS degree, a certificate, and these are Chancellor's Office approved certificates. Usually they're 18 units or more, but there are some Chancellor's Office certificates that are only 12 units, and they're included in this rate. Another outcome is a successful transfer, and then also students who achieve a status that we refer to as transfer prepared, which means that they have earned 60 units of UC or CSU transferable units at a rate of GPA of 2.0 or higher. So this is a measure that we continue to work on. You can see, compared to the statewide average, we're beneath that average. 43.4% Long Beach City College, 49.2%. But clearly that prepared group is completing at a higher rate. And this is picking up certainly some of those transfers that we're thinking weren't captured in some of the other cohorts. Stark contrast, obviously, for the unprepared students, just about 40% in 6 years are achieving one of these outcomes. Once again, viewing this in terms of the ethnic breakdown, once again, there are still achievement gaps that we continue to work on. The other thing that I just wanted to highlight for you, because the completion rates that we just showed you, it's collapsing all of the different kinds of completion. So we just wanted to give you a sense of the distribution of any of those outcomes that get captured in that last completion rate. So here you can see the distribution for certificates, degrees, transfer preparedness, and transfer. And clearly some students can complete more than one outcome. Okay, getting now to the remedial education progress rate. So this is a brand new measure for the scorecard, and the way the cohorts are being defined here, you can see that we're capturing students who have attempted a remedial math, English, or ESL course for the first time. It's not looking at students who also have enrollments at Cal State or UC. And the level is determined by their first attempt in any one of those disciplines. So really the thing to keep in mind about this particular remediation rate, it's looking at students who are enrolled at Long Beach City College in courses that we number, and this will make more sense to faculty who are here. It's our 800 band series of courses. So these are courses that are essentially basic skills that do bear credit value, but they do not apply to transfer or to the degree. So it's our lower level courses in each of the disciplines we're going to go through. And once again, so we're tracking students again over 6 years, and we're counting to see how many have actually completed a degree or transfer level course in that same discipline. So here are the rates. So in math, 13.3%, you see the statewide comparison. English, 34.2, and ESL, 4.4. Now this data, I just want to let you know, this has been shared really when the scorecard was released on April 9th. It was shared with a small group of faculty, members of the Institutional Research Advisory Committee, a subgroup of the Senate. It's also been discussed by the President's leadership. And it's pretty early on, but clearly we look at these numbers and we're wanting to make sense of them. The research office has spent a good bit of time this last week trying to unpack what these numbers mean and exactly what courses, student enrollments are being captured and not captured here. So we've tried to do that for you somewhat tonight in an effort to give you a better sense of these without having it be overly complicated, because it is quite complicated. We're really digging into the way each of these courses are coded and how it relates to the precise definitions that the Chancellor's Office has applied to these metrics. So for that math remedial rate of 13.3%, what it's capturing then are students who are starting, again, at the 800 series. That means they're enrolling in arithmetic, which is our Math 805, or preparation for algebra, or the review of algebra. For this particular cohort, again, we're taking the 2006-07 cohort. This captured 1,115 students, as we've got on the slide here. And then tracking them over the 6-year period, the students that are being counted as completing in 6 years, they're students who successfully complete our intermediate algebra, or it's technically referred to as the second course in algebra, or Math 130, or any other math class higher than that Math 130. So there were 148 students. So that's, don't want to get into too many details of the exclusions, but these were some of the questions that were brought up by faculty and by the deans as well. It's, and I've kind of provided that detail here in the event that there are questions and the deans want to make specific reference to some of the courses that are relevant here. Moving through then to the English remedial rate, the previous slide, a couple slides before, was 34.2%. Well, what does that mean? What is it capturing? Once again, it's students who are entering in the subject area of English in that 800 series. So these are labeled college English skills, multiple levels, 801A, 801B. Some of our old courses from the English Writing and Reading Center, these were half-unit courses in basic skills in sentence structure, spelling, phonics, and punctuation. All of the enrollments are included here. There were 1,365 students. Tracking them over a 6-year period of time, which of the students, which of the completions count in this measure? It's only those students who completed our transfer level English, which is English 1, reading and composition, or higher level English courses, such as our English 3, argumentative and critical writing, college grammar, creative writing, mythology. There were 467 students who successfully completed any one of those classes. Finally, the ESL remediation rate, 4.4%. These are students, again, starting in the 800 series level. Their courses cover basic reading, composition skills, grammar, and fundamentals for ESL students. A number of courses that we would have expected might have been captured here based on the coding were not, but students enrolled in the 800 series, there were 481 of them, again, following them over a 6-year period. The way the metric was defined here, it's only students who successfully completed our English 1 course that counted as a completion. So there's been questions about students who moved through the ESL sequence and actually successfully complete ESL 33, 34, and so on, which we include on the slide. Those completions are not being counted by the Chancellor's office. They are excluded based on the coding. They're transferable courses, but they're coded below transfer level. So these are some of the details that the deans, department heads, and faculty will be looking at in addressing this outcome. But it's important to know exactly how it is that they're deriving that number. So this is where the numbers are actually being pulled from those enrollments and those completions. Moving on to the next new metric, the Career Tech Education Rate. This is looking at first-time students, again, who are enrolled in CTE courses, who have completed more than 8 units within a single discipline of vocational technology in a 3-year period. And at least one of those courses needed to have been coded at a relatively high level of a CTE course, that is an advanced occupational or a higher level. There are lower level courses, and those aren't being captured here. So it's really an indicator of students who are really, seem to be, based on their enrollments, focusing on a vocational technical discipline. That's the denominator, the numerator, the outcomes that are being tracked over 6 years. Very different from the last time. We were just focusing on course completion rates. This is taking those CTE students, following them over 6 years, and seeing what meaningful outcomes that they have. Once again, those completions, a degree, 12 or more unit Chancellor's Office approved certificate, a transfer, or that transfer prepared status. So the numbers, here's how they look. Once again, for the 2006-07 cohort, there were 1,859 students picked up by the definition provided by the Chancellor's Office. 47.9% actually over a 6-year period completed one of those completion outcomes. Finally, the career development and college preparation, or the CDCP rate. Some of you may recall that it was in 2006, it was Senate Bill 361 that established enhanced funding for a set of non-credit courses that were designed to help students improve their employability, and were recognized that would be helpful for students with their for job opportunities. At Long Beach City College, we have a small set of those. They're in our basic adult education courses, and also some of our ESL 600 band courses are included for us in this particular measure. So it's capturing students who have attempted 2 or more of these non-credit special courses within a 3-year period of time, and have logged, basically, since these are what we call positive attendance courses, that we claim apportionment based on the number of hours students are logging in these non-credit courses. They would have had to have captured 4 hours in 2 or more of these courses. But it's okay if these students were also enrolled in credit courses. That's sort of a new aspect of this particular measure this year. So it's really trying to see how effective these particular courses are for students, once again, being tracked over a 6-year period and looking to see what kind of outcomes they've achieved. Any one of these outcomes count for this particular rate. The special one that you see here that you haven't seen so far for a completion outcome is the completion of one of these CDCP certificates, which is exclusively non-credit, but yet designed to help students with their employability. So for our college, based on that definition, there were just under 2,000 students captured in the cohort. 8.1% completed those outcomes within a 6-year period. And you can see the statewide average is quite low as well. So with regard to the scorecard, much more transparent, easily accessible by the public, by the college community. As I mentioned, it's already been presented to the Academic Senate subcommittee. Other discussions are taking place. The school deans have been heavily involved in trying to understand what the data means, working with the research office, and we'll continue to have these conversations. The research office wants to make itself available to the Academic Senate for more faculty who want to look at this. But I think most importantly is to that everyone is clear on what the data means and what it doesn't mean, and as people are asking additional questions about the data, that we want to be doing that we're looking at this information and asking ourselves, what are we doing about it? So that concludes my presentation about what the data is, but we want to provide the opportunity for the board to ask questions, especially how we're responding to the data that you've seen.
Okay, members of the board, any questions or comments regarding the report we just heard? Trustee Otto?
Yeah, of course, some of the numbers are real cause for concern, and you said that you've met with members of the faculty and the broader Long Beach community about some of those results recently.
Really, it's just a small group of faculty. It's a newly formed, or I think it's a sort of a resurrected committee, the Institutional Research Advisory Committee. Okay. That the Senate has created. We were meeting on April 9th, and that was the date that the scorecard was released. And it's one of the things that group is very interested in, is really understanding this data. And we wanted the opportunity for the faculty to be able to really dig into this. So, they've seen it briefly, because this is new that it's officially out. And then we've just really begun the conversation with faculty, have not talked to the Senate more broadly at all.
Well, as I think we've talked about for a long time here, we're moving from a culture of whatever will be to a culture of evidence. And the culture of evidence gives us the ability to have meaningful conversations about how students are completing and persisting and achieving their educational goals. And this allows us to do that. I'm glad you've got the committee set up. I know that there have been things that we've been doing over the last couple of years to try and address some of these problems or some of these issues, I guess I should say. And I guess I look forward to seeing all of the bright light of this research shown on what's going on, so that we can address some of these things. I am encouraged by a lot of the data that we've got, and I think that in contrast to the ARC data, the scorecard is much more meaningful for us and for community colleges throughout the state. It kind of brings out into the light what's going on.
You know, one thing I think I meant to mention that's really important backdrop, a lot of the things that the board has been hearing about for a number of years, the student success centers, all of the work of the Promise Pathways, none of that's being captured in the data that you've seen tonight. So it was the 2006-07 cohort that's the most recent cohort tracked over a 6-year period. So we can expect in the next few years to see effects from the success centers that were implemented in 2008. And then showing up in the ARC data, what we're seeing, what the board saw, I think a couple meetings ago from Promise Pathways, those transfer level attainments in math and English, as you saw, we're showing remarkable gains in this last year. But so that is the challenge with the ARC data. It's tracking over 6-year periods. Some of that won't show up for several years yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know, for example, that the astonishing results that we've gotten with our alternative placement methods in math and English aren't showing up here yet, and they will be as time goes by, and so I get that, but I appreciate that this whole evidentiary approach to things is finally emerging.
Thank you for the report. It's also it needs to be mentioned that this is a national trend that to doing this kind of studies. Report cards, California has jumped out in front of this, but I know that through the American Association of Community Colleges, they've already put together a VFA, Voluntary Framework of Accountability, which basically covers much of this in regards to measuring student success and trying to get more of a handle on how well community colleges are doing with their success rates in all the categories of transfer, finishing, getting to certificates and diplomas. And so it's something that we need to be obviously aware of, and we need to be out in front of, because it is going to be something that's going to come to the forefront even more so as we move forward, especially when we're looking at the president's initiative for 20 million degrees in 2020. So this discussion is right now fresh and new, but it's certainly something that's going to come even more so, more important as we move forward with accountability. Thank you for that. Any other comments? Trustee Kellogg?
Sorry, there was a point where we've been doing almost data overload for the last couple of days, a few of us with some conferences and so on. And I'm just going to make the quick statement is that there's a lot of things going on with community colleges, not only in California, but throughout the nation. And I asked them because it's with data, exactly what we're doing here in California. And it's just pretty amazing, some of the steps we are doing. And this document, cut to the chase, we're doing quite well in comparison to a lot of colleges. And so it's a lot of data. I know going through it can be extremely dry, but at the end of the day, what I try to get out of it is that after hearing comments earlier, some of the people are doing a really good job in addressing these issues. And these issues, though, need to be addressed by all colleges because it's where we're becoming more and more data-driven. And this is really a step ahead of it. And in these conferences, what I was referring to at the beginning, is that's what a lot of people are trying to get their arms around. So for California, and there was even a breakout session specifically on the scorecard. So, of course, I want them to do the drop down to Long Beach because for favorable reasons. And but it was a good report, and I apologize. I was going out because I was trying to track some other data down. Thank you.
If I can just make one closing comment, if there's no other questions from the board. I also want to thank Eva and her staff. Since this cohort that was just reported on, the board, the college has made a significant investment in addressing these issues. Much of that investment is here today with us. I see several of our instructional specialists. I see faculty who've been working hard on Promised Pathways. I see our researcher and his team, John Hetz. We've invested quite a bit of resources to get at these issues. And quite frankly, these are the issues that we should be talking about. I'm a little bit surprised that our student representatives walked out right now, but I mean, this is the issue that affects every student. And as we can see from the data, there's something wrong with the way students are progressing, and we need to get at the root of that because it's important that all of our students have an opportunity to successfully complete their educational goals. And we can't do that unless we have the resources in place, the faculty in place, the data resources in place to really get at these issues. So I hope that we continue to put a primary focus of our efforts on this, moving this data into a more positive light. We owe it to all of our students, every single one of them, all 27,000 that attend every semester, regardless of where they're from. We need to close those achievement gaps. We need to work with our faculty to give them the resources, professional development, what they need to improve their teaching methods, and continue to shine a spotlight on the data. So thank you, Eva, and to all the faculty and staff who've been working so hard for the last 7 years to improve this data. I'm sure that we'll see much of this improve over the next several years.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, continuing with the superintendent's report. I want to continue with 9.3.
Yes, thank you, Board President Uranga. I'm going to take a little bit of time because there have been several issues that have come up recently that I want to make sure and spend some time on. First of all, some very good news. Several of our staff and faculty have been honored recently. I want to make sure everybody knows about it. First of all, I just got word recently that Dr. David Morse was recently elected as the Vice President of the Statewide Academic Senate, so I want to congratulate David for that achievement. He is one step away from President of the Statewide Academic Senate, so we wish him the very best of luck, and he will be working hard over the next several years on issues that are impacting the state. We are very much our college that is engaged in statewide issues. David is another example of that engagement, so we wish him all the luck in helping improve our system of higher education in California. Next, I want to congratulate our men's volleyball team. Well, they made it to the state regional semifinals. They played a very tough Grossmont team and lost, but they made us very proud once again. It's amazing that they keep on showing up in state finals year after year after year. So I want to congratulate all the coaching staff, the entire athletic division, or athletic director and dean, everybody involved. They did a fabulous job again this year, so thank you for that. I also have another faculty member who was recently honored with an award for excellence. It's the Community College League's 2012 John and Sue-Ann Roosh Excellence Award, and that went to Delia Duras. So congratulations, Delia, on that great achievement. We are also honoring outstanding colleagues again this year, and they were just recently notified, so I want to congratulate Myra Aguilar. Myra, are you here? Is she here today? She's not here today? Oh my God. Laura Compion, Jordan Fabish, Brenda Harrell, and Arnie Nystrom, again, outstanding individuals, so I want to congratulate them. They're the outstanding colleagues for this year. Also,
Eli,
yes.
sorry, don't forget Stacy Robinson.
Oh, yes, sorry, Stacy Robinson as well. Sorry about that, Stacy. Also want to remind everybody that we're coming up on the 85th year celebration, 85 years of excellence. The Long Beach City College Foundation is hosting on May 30th in the Long Beach City College Hall of Champions, the 85th gala anniversary. So I hope everyone can attend. You can get information about it on our website about how to attend. Also want to report that earlier today up in San Francisco, Long Beach City College was honored with a recognition by the American Association of Community Colleges for an exemplary college CEO, college board relations. That's an achievement. It's a new award for community colleges, honoring those boards that have done exemplary work throughout the country. So I was happy to accept the recognition today on behalf of the Long Beach Community College Board of Trustees. Okay, now let me get to a couple of other things that are important that are related to the discussions that we've had. And again, it's unfortunate that our student trustee and ASB leadership has just stepped out, but I'm sure they can watch this on YouTube. First of all, there were several troubling comments made about the aviation maintenance program that I need to address because there was some serious allegations made there. First of all, let me be very clear. The FAA has not changed the accreditation status of our program in any way, shape, or form. The program remains accredited. So I'm not sure where Trustee Troya got that information, but the program continues to be accredited. Now, there have been several allegations raised by faculty members against other faculty members in the program regarding some FAA requirements. We're working with the FAA to try and understand what those allegations are and whether or not those issues need any additional, need to be addressed any other way. So we're working with the FAA to understand what's happening there. But again, let me be clear, this is an issue between faculty. And it is part of their academic and professional matters to address those issues. We are working with them. If there was any violation of any FAA regulation, then we will certainly respond, but we have not been notified of those any regulatory issues. So we will continue to wait and hear from the FAA and continue to work with them. But again, for the students in the FAA program, the FAA certification remains intact. We are scheduling classes now for the summer. Those students within 6 units of completing a certificate in power plant or airframe certification, those courses will be offered, and they'll be offered consistent with the information provided in the initial discontinuance reports. So we will continue to ensure that our students have those opportunities to complete those classes. Now, with regard to some of the other issues that have been raised, I know there were several issues, but I do need to address at least a few of them because they've come up several times, and they relate to either the college leadership or to the college's regulations and policies. First of all, I think it's important that with regard to the vote of no confidence that Trustee Troya reported on and ASB President Josh Lorenzini was involved with, I was asked by one of the ASB cabinet members to read a statement from her. And I think it's important given that you've heard one side of this issue. So although she could not be here today, she's a single parent and couldn't be here, but she asked that I read this statement. Dear President Oakley, Board of Trustees, Administration, the resolution you are being given today does not fairly represent the voice of either the ASB Cabinet or the students at LBCC. The authors did not include the entire Cabinet when composing the resolution, which raises questions of fraud, because all members are listed as submitting the document. Additional input and revisions were also not permitted after the resolution was presented and before the vote was taken, further raising the question of its validity. What is even more disheartening is that a complete lack of LAC student input, opinion, or concern was addressed. No open forum outside of the ASB cabinet meetings was conducted to inform the students of the vote and what it meant. The resolution itself was never posted on the LAC campus or made available to students in any way. This is not for a lack of trying on the part of some cabinet members. Our president, Mr. Lorenzini, called for the action on the agenda a mere week after the resolution was presented to us. We had no time to research the facts presented to us. We were also not able to vet the signatures collected in support of the vote to make sure that the student ID numbers represented current students. It is probable that the majority of signatures were collected before the resolution itself was even made public. After the ASB meeting on Monday, April 15th, a forum was scheduled and posted by the ASB president for Thursday, April 18th. 9 ASB members showed up for the meeting to address the students' concerns. However, it was not enough members to make a quorum. The ASB president, the vice president, and student trustee did not show up. The meeting was not published prior to or rescheduled after. The following day, Friday, April 19th, an executive board meeting was scheduled at 7 a.m. at LAC. Again, while the agenda was posted, the meeting was not published. In addition, I, the treasurer, and members of the executive board was not consulted in advance about the meeting time, thus were not able to attend. A vote was taken at the meeting without the only member who opposed the resolution. The resolution you are being given today is so clouded with false facts, misrepresentations, and total lack of respect for the student body at large that I cannot be silent about this issue. The students who have been affected by the massive discontinuance should be heard. All members of the ASB cabinet support their struggles and frustration. If questions arise, they should be asked and answered honestly. I, along with many students at LBCC, do not have an issue with freedom of speech or democracy. However, we do take issue with the bullying, personal agendas, and forcing issues that have not been adequately or fairly executed. If they want the vote, due process needs to happen. This vote should be recalled immediately. Lastly, I am sorry that I cannot attend the meeting today. I am a single parent and my daughter is sick with pneumonia. It was important that I made a statement in conjunction with the announcement of the vote, and I am okay with you reading the statement at the meeting if you think it will be effective. This is most definitely not the victory that is being paraded by some. Please share this with members I may have missed. Thank you for your time. I certainly can't speak to the actions of the ASB cabinet, and I think it's unfortunate that there's this kind of division amongst our student leadership, and we'll certainly do everything we can to work with the student leadership to resolve that. This is about students learning about leadership. students having the opportunity to voice their concerns, whether they be for or against an issue. And certainly bullying is never the appropriate approach, whether you agree with a person's position or don't agree with a person's position. That's what leadership is about. This board was just criticized for the process it took. And I'm concerned that the process that the ASB board just took in no way represents a better process. So I'm a bit confused about that. I'm a bit confused also because I have a President's Leadership Council that is my committee that is made up of all of the leaders of the college community, including all the union presidents, the ASB president, and all the other employee group representatives, including the ASB president. At the last meeting, ASB's concerns were agendized. Those concerns that were sent to me by ASB President Josh Lorenzini, which I responded to, I agendized and asked him to come to the meeting. He was aware of the meeting and initially said he could attend. At the last minute, he chose not to come to the meeting, and I asked him to please at least send a representative from the ASB to the meeting. Now, the ASB president has not been present at any of the PLC meetings this academic year. And I think that's unfortunate because that's where these issues need to be discussed. Secondly, I made available every vice president who was here on Monday, who could be released from other duties on Monday, to attend the ASB cabinet meeting to address questions of the ASB cabinet. I have provided the board a summary of all the questions that were asked by the ASB cabinet and the responses. So I'm concerned that although the ASB can and should have questions about our processes, can and should have questions about our legal requirements, Brown Act requirements, so on and so forth, that when we are asked to respond and we provide significant resources to that response, that the responses aren't even taken into consideration. Previous to that meeting, Mr. Lorenzini sent me a request for information, and we provided a very lengthy response to all the questions that were raised, in particular many of the questions that Student Trustee Troya just raised. All those questions were answered, and in particular the legal questions that were raised were answered. Unfortunately, none of those responses have been taken into consideration. And so I will again suggest to the ASB leadership that they bring their concerns to the administration so we can sit down with them and provide them as thorough a response to their questions as possible. These questions about our administrative regulations, in particular 4024, I will again say that students represented on the President's Leadership Council throughout the last several years have been participating in the development of these policies. Student Trustee Troyer refers to the previous faculty leadership. It was that faculty leadership that actually drafted the current administrative regulation 4024. It was only recently revised, but the original regulation was drafted about 15 years ago. So, and of course, student participation was there. In 2007, 2008, we went through a program discontinuance process. The students on the President Leadership Council were present during those discussions. At no time were any questions raised about the students' participation in Administrative Regulation 4024. Finally, on this issue, Student Trustee Troya raised the issue of the administration ramming through policy changes. Administrative regulations are not policies. They're regulations of the college and do not require board approval. Only policies require board approval. Administrative regulations are brought to the board for information only and allow the board to ask questions about the regulations. It is the policy that the Board of Trustees is responsible for. questions were raised about the bond program and the nature of the bond proceeds and how they're spent. We have an independent Citizens Oversight Committee that's made up of members of the community. That Citizens Oversight Committee also has membership of the ASB, and in particular, the ASB president. So I'm confused that the student trustee has brought up questions about the bond proceeds when students have had representation on the Citizens Oversight Committee and have never raised any of those issues. This could be because the ASB president has not been at any of the Citizens Oversight Committee meetings since 2011. So governance is not an easy process, particularly at a community college. And any questions about the leadership of either the faculty or the classified staff or the administration at this college, I take offense to. These people work very hard and spend many hours in committees. It is very difficult, I agree, for students to participate in all these committees. And as I've mentioned to both the ASB president and the student trustee, I would like to set up a committee to look at how to improve student participation. Again, never has that been mentioned in any of the comments, and I've made that comment in meetings with myself, student trustee Troya, ASB president Lorenzini. I've made that through emails to both of them. So again, it's not that the administration is not open to discussing these issues with the ASB, it's that the ASB is not reporting that these issues are being discussed, and we are open to them. I think a conclusion has been made, and they are following through. And I'm not here to say whether their decisions are good, bad, or indifferent. Those are the decisions of the ASB. But what I am here to say is that my door has been open to the student trustee and the ASB president. Not once, and let me repeat this, not once have any of these concerns ever been discussed with me in meetings with them, even though I've asked them to bring their concerns to me so that we can work through them. The last conversation I had with ASB President Lorenzini, after he failed to come to the President's Leadership Council, he called to apologize and said that he also apologized for the questions that he had submitted to me and that he just wanted to learn more about the legal process and would I be willing to sit down with him to help him understand the law behind the Brown Act. Of course, I said yes. Just let me know when you want to sit down and meet. I'd be happy to do that. I'd be happy to get you a legal opinion on the Ralph M. Brown Act in all our committees. I have not heard from him since. So what's disappointing to me is that there have been many attempts to bring the ASB leadership to the table to sit down and have a comprehensive discussion and, if necessary, legal interpretation on all of these issues that they have raised. That offer is still on the table. Regardless of what was said today, we will continue to work with the ASB leadership, all student representatives, to address these concerns. Ultimately, yes, there are many decisions that whether they be student, faculty, staff may disagree with. But it is important that we honor the governance processes that are here at this college, that we honor the leadership and commitment of those who, particularly those who are not paid. I'm paid to do this job. I'm paid to sit in meetings. Our academic senate leadership, our union leadership, they do this voluntarily. And we work very hard to ensure that our processes are followed and that they have representation to ensure that the processes reflect what we all feel is in the best interest of the students, the faculty, and the staff. Do we always conduct our business perfect? No. And we have much to improve on. But it's unfortunate that we have come to this point, but we will move forward. We will continue to work with the ASB leadership, and we will overcome these differences over time. You have my commitment to that. Finally, just for the record, since there were several accusations made and legal representations made, I'm going to ask our Vice President of Administrative Services to refer our legal counsel to the ASB President and to Student Trustee Troya. As I see his letter to the trustees is signed as a student, as the LBC student trustee, so I assume he's acting in the capacity of the student trustee and the ASB representative. So we will take that very seriously. I'll ask Anne Marie to have our attorney contact him, and if there's any legal issues that they wish to discuss going forward, I'll just refer it to them. That's all I have.
Thank you, President Oakley. Moving on with the agenda, we have academic affairs, no items, no report. Student support services, we have an item, revised Administrative Regulation 5009, dealing with registration. This is an informative item. Are there any comments, discussion by the board members?
No.
Hearing none, we shall move on. Like I said, it's an informative item. Item 12.10 is a resolution declaring surplus property and authorizing public lease, the Los Coyotes site. Okay, I have a motion to approve.
Question.
A second?
Second.
Okay, second, discussion. Trustee Kellogg.
Just a question. I saw the on the language there, and we talk in there that potentially for, and I don't have it right in front of me right now, but it's for housing. And my question is that what it is currently zoned for?
Yes, it's it's for assisted living, not necessarily housing, but it is zoned for multi-use, and it's one of the few areas in Long Beach that is zoned that way. So we think that it will be a very popular item. We will be going out to bid on this item, and this is the vacant lot that is currently fenced off of the Los Coyotes property that we're trying to deem surplus so that we can go out to bid in a long-term ground lease for this in order to generate revenue for the district.
And my only reason for asking that question is that from my 12 years on the Long Beach City Council, there is no such thing as a popular zoning, especially when it's surrounded by traditional R1. So I just want to make sure that people understand, and sometimes I find out it gets lost in translation. This is not a Long Beach City College project. This is a developer. Good luck to the developer who is going to take this forward, but as I am here sitting today, I do not want to be someone that they come back to and say that we are promoting that use, if that's indeed what the exact zoning is, because traditionally these type of land use issues in an area that's adjacent to a traditional R1 area is very confrontational. And so I just don't want to put ourselves in the middle of a private developer who's trying to move forward and make money. So I just want to have that clarification because I saw that and I just want to make sure the zoning, what it was and where it's going. So I just, it's going to go out there and do things, but I think that there's a lot more issues on these type of items. And I just want to be very clear that I don't want to have the college pulled into that fight.
Trustee Otto.
Yeah, it's my understanding that what's being proposed is not that we turn the property over to a developer, but that we enter into a ground lease for the property to be developed, and that the net outcome of this would be an income stream for the district, which is a way of making money on land that currently isn't making any money for us. And as I hope everybody realizes, we need as much money as we can so that we can educate our students. Is that a fair summary of what's going on, Anne Marie?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, coming from a background with some real estate, I get it, but I also can tell you that they're not going to go talk to a private developer and make a case if they're not happy. And I just want to somewhat give ourselves a little cushion that we are usually going to be a public entity is usually the ones that they come to. And so I just want to make sure that they're going to move forward, and it can be very good for the college, but I've just seen issues like this that have gotten really difficult on the governing body, who, whether it's a ground lease or whatever you want to call it, and so that's just sort of a caution. I get the economics, but what I don't want to get is basically being a shield for the private developer. I wish them all well. They're there to make the money. I hope it's good for everyone around, but I've just seen too many of these fights in my career that it's adjacent to an R1 area. And I'll leave it at that.
Just for clarification, we're not changing the zoning. It's already zoned that way. So what we're going out to bid for is something that is currently zoned for that use.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that you'll be monitoring that closely and to keep us within our parameters of what we can and cannot approve.
Right, and then the next step, if the board approves this resolution, then we would be going out to bid, as I mentioned, which would be published 3 different times over a 3-week period. It will contain all of the minimum price in terms of the lease, and the minimum price has to be at least the appraised value of the property and going forward, but it will be a complete open public bid that will be opened, and then we would be bringing back, if all goes well, the recommendation to the board at the July 28th meeting for the board to act on at that point in time.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we've had discussion. Take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Vote passes. Item 12.11 is a first reading of a revised district policy regulation 6003, which addresses purchasing and materials. Item 12.12 is also a revised district policy 6008, and it's regarding delegation of authority for general business. And that's also for first reading. Then we have 12.13, which is a revised district policy regulation 6009, addressing bids and contracts. That's also for first reading. And 12.14, which is a new district policy regulation 6013, addressing auxiliary operations, and that is submitted for first reading.
Let me make
Trustee
just a
Otto.
quick comment, yeah. We are asked to review our policies, our district policies, on a variety of things over time so that they're fresh and up to date. In fact, it's one of the things that's expected of us. So when I know that many people in the audience don't understand what this is, but we are in the middle of, or just a continuous review process of all the policies that we have here at the college. They've been looked at, updated, modernized, and otherwise made more relevant to the circumstances of the day. There's always a first reading. Everybody has access to what it is that the changes, if any, are that were being suggested. And then at the second reading, there's a vote. So as you see a number of these go by in front of you, I think it's important to understand exactly what's going on here, and that's it. The policies by which this community college district are governed are updated, and that's what we're doing.
Thank you, Trustee Otto, for that clarification. Item 14, Pacific Coast Campus, no items, no report. Item 15, College Advancement and Economic Development, no items, no report. Academic Senate. April.
Okay, since that report card really is an academic matter, I just want to get a little more information about, Paul, do you know what year it was that Math 130 was no longer our graduation requirement when they changed it to the Algebra 2? 2008. So then my question is for Eva, 2009? Okay, so this cohort group from 2006 was not required to take anything except for Math 130, correct? To graduate. Okay, but we're not counting 130 when we're looking at that. Correct? Okay. I just wanted you guys to know that.
Important point. Okay, trustee communications. Anybody with a trustee communication? Trustee Kellogg.
I wanted to very briefly, and Tom Clark taught me this lesson a long time ago, that whenever we go to any type of conference, you come back and you give a very quick report, or a report, not necessarily a quick report. But there was a conference this last couple of days, over the weekend, actually, the American Association of Community Colleges. And I attended that, and there was a tremendous amount of information. And ironically, it was, stepping back, I postponed going there because I was confident that we were going to win our semifinal men's volleyball match, and I pushed it off so I could be here for when we play in the Saturday state finals. Obviously, we lost, and so that teaches me not to make those type of plans, but so we never got to the finals. But when I did get to AACC, tremendous amount of information. The only thing I would like to, a couple things that of the college, we were involved in some panel discussions, one of which had to do with our placement of students, how we test students, how we place students, and the response on how other colleges, and this was a panel discussion on was it Sunday or was it yesterday? It was in one of the last sessions, traditionally not well attended, and it was Monday. And President Oakley was one of the presenters, obviously, because it had to do with Long Beach City College, and the turnout was the largest that I could tell of all the discussions going on, and the interest about how we place students, how we test students, how it's very different in many ways. And the reason I bring that up, and that was an example which I was very proud of with Long Beach City College about how we're doing things really we're very innovative on how we're addressing a lot of our issues. And the response from a lot of panel people, not only from California, but from out of the state, it was refreshing to be there and hear those type of comments about how we do that. And that was a theme that I from other days with our Promise Pathways, how we do it, working with our K-12 system, seamless education, and so on and so forth. And so it was a very positive weekend, a lot of information. Ironically, some other trustees from some California community colleges came up, and after the discussion tonight, came up and asked me about the discontinuance program, on how we did the process, because they had heard a lot of things more in a positive than a negative, and the fact that they were trying to get their arms around some financial issues and that they hadn't moved quick enough and they'd missed the opportunity, and how they were trying to deal with the budget deficits and how we worked around it and working with people, and not necessarily around it, but how we addressed the issue. So it was a very good conference, a lot of information. We were honored in many ways, and so I just wanted to bring that up because it's sometimes people look at conferences in mixed reactions, but there is a tremendous opportunity to learn, see what's going on, compare yourself, and become better at what you do in this job. So I wanted to just give a very brief, and others were there as well. But, and the reason I wanted to bring it up is because I'm still a little bit, and I apologize, during Eva's presentation, I walked out, and I will find out this information, but I'm not the most technically savvy person, but I know who to talk to, and I will follow up because I'm still a little bit upset over the beginning where we started meeting in such a negative way, and I will make that pledge, though, that my understanding, the FAA rates community colleges, and what I stepped out is because I asked some people to find that information for me, not in the college, with my work, and for people that don't know, I work with colleges all over, and it's a lot of data, and I will find that out because I couldn't find what are the guidelines, what were the issues that give us a rating to put us in the top 5, and I have to be honest, the ironic part is I was trying to write down things of all the, I just quit writing after a while, but that one is important to me because I've heard it a few times, but I thought it was ironic because the comments from our student trustees started with that we've lost our accreditation to that effect from the FAA, and then later I hear that we're in the top 5% with the FAA, and I'm going, okay, how does that work? But I've been confused before. So I just, my final point is that I get very angry when people attack people that don't have an opportunity to respond. It's a very helpless feeling, and I learned that when I was, from now almost 25 years in public office, and to have, I don't mind when people attack me. That goes with being an elected official. It's not the first, it's not the last. I've been threatened. I started where I was involved where 1,500 people would show about airport expansion. You want to have a hostile crowd, go in front of that group. And those were the days with the Long Beach Airport. But when I hear people start with not just attacking me, and tonight, if I kept my scorecard going, I was recalled, I was a vote of no confidence, and I have legal action, all in one night. And that's a little unusual, but when you step over the line and start attacking administrators, faculty members, classified staff, it just has gotten progressively to where everybody, you're not doing things right. And it just really bothers me because we have a tremendous amount of professionals at this college, and it really bothers me when somebody takes them on with really, in my opinion, no real factual information. And I just learned a long time ago not to sit there, even though I have, to have other people attacked who won't respond, who feel very they're defenseless. And to make these allegations, throwing things out, just throwing the comments out, and not really having any justification behind it. But the famous line you saw in there's a great commercial. If it's on the internet, it must be true. And the person shows up and says, "Bonjour, I'm your French, foreign student." That's a very cute commercial. But I just really, to start the meeting off in that type of light, I don't care if it's after me as an elected official. I think it was wrong. But to go after suddenly widening that net and starting when he first sat down, and that's why I was attacking fellow students, former students, for not doing their job, and then expanding it to administrators, classified staff, faculty leaders. You're not doing your job. I find it unfair, and unfortunately, you are who you are, and I respect the right. He has that ability to make those comments, but I don't like other people being attacked in that way. But I will promise you, I will find out if that is indeed what I wrote down. The FAA rates community college programs. I'll find out what the guidelines are and how we got in the top 5%. And I'll report back and just say, here's what I found. And if there's some people that want to send me the information, but don't send me on chasing my tail, because I don't like doing that. And I just really, it was a disappointing way to start a meeting. I'm hoping to end it in a way that was positive. We go to this, I hear a lot of positive things about the college. And for people that know me, they know I love the movies. And I try to use movies as an out to get people away from where they do the personal attacks. And I'll just leave you with this, and hopefully you'll have a smile on your face. But there was a great skit by the Saturday Night Live years ago. And I'll use that only because this is what I was hearing and seeing. There was a line where it used to be the famous segment of that show. Vinny, you're even a fan of it. I've really dated myself. That's no longer popular. But it was where they used to have point counterpoint. And there was a part where they had Derek Jeter, the future Hall of Famer for the New York Yankees, was on as their guest. And they had a point counterpoint where Derek Jeter talked about the rivalry with the Boston Red Sox. And he was very eloquent in how he laid out all the points about why people, even in Boston, respect the New York Yankees on what they do and how they do it. And even though they disagree, and he went through the whole thing, and he was dressed in a suit, and it was very well done. The counterpoint was a Boston Red Sox fan who had a Boston Red Sox hat on, a white T-shirt with a big mustard stain. And I'm a Red Sox fan, so I thought, okay, you're stereotyping my Red Sox in that regard. But the Red Sox fan, after they turned it over and they said the counterpoint is, and the Red Sox fan looked over at Derek Jeter and simply said, after this 5-minute speech, he goes, "You suck, and the Yankees suck." Thank you. My point is, all the information in the world, sometimes people aren't going to get it, and so I don't try. Anyway, I think we're doing fine at Long Beach City College. I'm proud to be here, and I just really, to start the meeting that way, it's just not my way of doing things. Thank you.
Trustee Otto.
Yeah, It's been quite a meeting. I've taken it upon myself in the last half a dozen meetings or so to tell you the other things that students are doing now, because I think it's important for students to know that. And so on April 30th on the PCC campus, there is a sexual assault awareness event sponsored by the Human Services Club. On May 2nd on the PCC campus, there's a Cinco de Mayo celebration by the Cultural Affairs Committee at PCC. On May 2nd and May 7th, there are blood drives by Red Cross and Lifestream, respectively, on the PCC campus, and we urge everybody to participate and attend those events. They're wonderful events, and they really are part of the education of students and the people that participate in those programs. At the Liberal Arts campus, we had a mini Grand Prix chili cook-off on Tuesday, April 16th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and it was a great success, and we want to thank everybody that participated in that event. That was followed 2 days later by the mini Grand Prix race day on April 18th, again from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and everybody had a great time, and we want to thank everybody for participating in that event as well. The Cultural Affairs Council LAC is also having a Cinco de Mayo celebration on May 2nd from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Those times are tentative, but if you want to participate, get in touch with our Vice President for Student Services, Greg Peterson, and he can give you the firm times for that. The Spring Sing has been pushed way back this year, so it's going to be on Friday, May 3rd from 7 to 10 p.m. at the Hall of Champions here at the LAC campus, and that's always such a great event at Long Beach City College with a long, long history of student participation clubs, and it's an event that shouldn't be missed. The Student Life Awards reception is on Tuesday, May 28th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Grand in Long Beach. That's the 28th. And those awards are always a wonderful event to celebrate the accomplishments of our students as they progress in their education. And finally, the ASB banquet is on Friday, May 31st from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., also at the Grand in Long Beach. And you need to know that these events are going on in our student life. You need to know that these are the kinds of things that our students are very involved with. And I hope that you can attend some of the events as well.
Thank you, Doug, for that update. I also would like to end this meeting on a very positive, well, not the end of the meeting yet. Let me just say it's a trustee communication, is that as I travel and meet other trustees from all different parts of the country, they always come to us at Long Beach City College and just lauding the wonderful work that we're doing here. So despite what you might hear and what we've done and the decisions we've made here, we're doing some great things here that I'm very proud of, and that we share with others, and that others see that we are doing here, and that regarded in high esteem, and even to the point of receiving some awards and recognition, and of course national recognition in national periodicals and newspapers because of the wonderful things that we do. So I'm very proud of my service here at Long Beach City College. I will continue to serve this college as best I can, to the best of my ability, and as honestly and directly and as transparently as I possibly can, because that's what I do, and that's who I am. Okay, discussions today did not lead with any new business. Future reports, we have a few coming up. They're not listed here, but that's okay, because we have them agendized in other areas. Public comments. Okay, it is at this time that, at the request, members of the public will be given the opportunity to address the Board of Trustees on matters of general district business. This is the time where members of the public can speak and be heard and share their comments with the board and for the board to listen. Therefore, the public should not expect the board to comment or to respond to public comments. A particular position should not be inferred if there are no board member comments during this time. A total of 5 minutes will be allotted to each subject, extended by the board president, or unless extended by the board president. After receiving testimony, the board may recommend placing such items on the agenda of a future meeting or referring the items to staff for a report. I have two topics addressed today. One, I have one, and then I have a second topic dealing with program discontinuance. There are three of those, as has been my my custom, when there are more than one to address in a 5-minute period, I usually extend that time to allow the individuals to speak. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and extend it to 10 minutes for 3 individuals. That gives you 3 minutes each. Please keep in mind that when you are speaking, there are individuals behind you, and please be disrespectful. What? Be respectful. Talk about a faux pas. Please remember to be respectful in your comments, because more than anything else, when you throw out this aspersions, it's more a reflection of who you are and speaks more about you than the person you're throwing it at. So, going with that, I'm going to begin our non-agenda items discussions with Rose Vance, who is a student and is talking about transfer and obtaining records. Is Ms. Vance available? Oh, there she is. Okay.
My name is Rose Vance, and I am an aviation maintenance student. I am one of the students that's being forced to attend a different college in order to obtain not only my AS in aviation science, but also my bachelor's. I think that all of the students who are being forced to go elsewhere for their education should be given their transcripts free of charge, because this was not our original plan. Also, for those of us in the aviation maintenance program, your college transcripts do not let us let the other colleges that we're going to be transferring into, they do not state that we have met all 147 requirements for general airframe or power plant. Therefore, we need to also have copies of our current progress reports for the sections that we have completed, and I think we should be given those as soon as we request those. Thank you very much.
Michelle Garcia, this is the topic that we're going to be dealing with, discontinuance, total of 10 minutes. Michelle Garcia, interior design discontinuance.
My name is Michelle Garcia, and I'm an interior design student, and I'm directly being affected by the discontinuance. And I thank you for letting me have my voice heard. As you know, I'm here to advocate for green building education. From what I've heard with the meeting with President Oakley, the board recognizes the importance of integrating green education into this college. The proposal to incorporate the interior design green classes into the architect department is a small step forward. I'm here to still push for the reinstatement of interior design. As I've said before, green building is a holistic approach. To think green building only pertains to exteriors or interiors at that matter is naive. Green building, construction, and design consists of an integrated team from all fields: architecture, interiors, engineering, landscaping, and construction, to say a few. Because of this integrated team approach, all players in design, planning, and construction are equally important. I'm urging you to reinstate interior design. According to the EPA, buildings account for 38% of total energy consumed. Buildings also account for 38% of the nation's total carbon dioxide emissions. This is our low-hanging fruit when it comes to addressing global warming and energy conservation. We must prepare students for employment in this growing industry. As a Long Beach resident, as a LBCC student, as a mother, I am demanding our schools and our colleges to incorporate sustainable practices, education and training for green jobs in our city and our state. We must connect the dots here in Long Beach and move towards a sustainable future, from education to employment to building and energy. Long Beach wants this, Californians want this. The interior design program is doing it with the partnership with the USGBC and Green Design Certificate. I'm asking you to let us continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Vivian Price. program elimination.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'm a professor at Cal State Dominguez Hills. I teach labor studies and interdisciplinary studies there, but I'm also a graduate of Long Beach City College. I studied electrical industrial electricity here, and I also taught here at Long Beach City College, and I know it's a great school. Really proud of having had a career here. And I think it's a really sad day to see that we have this discontinuance here at Long Beach City College. And I'd like to speak about my experience at Dominguez Hills. We also were about to embark on a program elimination plan several years ago. And there was a movement from the administration to do so because of financial problems. However, the faculty and the students, the families, the community, and the administration, some of the administration banded together to try and look one more time at what was going on, at where there could be some changes. And we did turn it around. There had been one program that was eliminated, the Sports and Recreation and Leisure Field, and it was done kind of at the dark of night in the summertime. And that's what sort of tipped us off. No programs were eliminated, even though there was an enormous amount of evidence accrued to say that we could not afford these programs. And I'm happy to say that no programs have been eliminated since then. We've found other ways to make our budgets work, and we proudly have kept all of our programs at Dominguez Hills. And I really call on you, as people who are committed to student excellence, to seeing the future of Long Beach continue, to try to make these programs find a way to be reinstated. These are programs that offer people jobs. We have an economy right now where people can't find jobs. When you have skills, you can find work. It's a lot easier. A lot of people who've gone on to get PhDs are unemployed. So while I value education, and I think, I speak to people about transferring to Dominguez Hills and other colleges, other four-year universities, I value the skilled trades, and I really think that the programs that you are discontinuing here should really be given a second look and see if there's some way to save them. Thank you.
Wayne Marchesian. I hope I pronounced that correctly. If not, I apologize.
Hello, my name is Wayne Marchesian. Apology accepted. Most people don't get it right. I'm not speaking to who has done or not done what, but I do want to address the program discontinuance. This is supposed to be, by definition, a community college. My supposition is that this means educating people in the community. Also, community colleges have been geared to those who cannot afford a university education or are just predisposed to a trade or vocation. Unlike students using the common community college as an affordable stepping stone to a university, the main difference between the two is that trades and vocational courses graduates will most likely stay in the Long Beach community, contributing to said community, like the corner grocery store, the dry cleaners, mechanics, which are coincidentally being cut, and so on. Academics will likely graduate from a university and move on to where a suitable job is. Trades and vocations are community builders, and to cut them is to kill the community. you're killing the future of the community. These are people that stay here. They work, their families are here. These are courses that need to stay here too. Thanks.
Thank you. This concludes the topics on non-agenda items. We are now at a second closed session. Is there a request for a second closed session? There is not. So this meeting is, can I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Our next meeting will be May 9th. It's a special meeting at the LAC at 5 p.m.